And our top story this hour, President Trump's pick to lead the Office of Special Counsel has withdrawn from consideration after his offensive text messages were made public. Far-right former podcaster Paul Ingrassia was set to appear for a confirmation hearing this week. But after several Republicans signaled their opposition, it became clear he did not have the votes to be confirmed. He came under scrutiny after Politico, citing 3 administration officials, reported a colleague had accused him of sexual harassment. And there were reports of a text chat in which Ingrassia allegedly sent messages saying he had a, quote, Nazi streak, and that Martin Luther King Jr. Day should be, quote, tossed in the 7th circle of hell. All right. On social media last night, Ingrassia wrote in part, quote, unfortunately, I do not have enough Republican votes at this time, but that he appreciated the overwhelming support he has received and that he will, quote, continue to serve President Trump and this administration. Jonathan Lemire, anything you can add to this from your sources? I
mean, it's sort of a rare moment, actually, where Republicans say no to something that President Trump had wanted. Now, obviously, there's been revelations about Ingrassia, but there were some of these rumors have been out there before, the original claim. But the revelation of the text chain that Politico obtained in the last few days sort of was the death knell for his nomination here. But even then, there was a solid day there where he and his team, he actually enlisted his mother to help, thought they could convince Republicans that he still was worthy of this position. But John Thune, we talked about it earlier, has so rarely defied President Trump, but he did lay down a marker a day or so ago that he did not think Ingrassia would receive the votes. I'm told that there was a number of people who in the GOP Senate who were not going to support him. So this is a moment where he is falling off, but it is certainly, as this combined with the text chains of a week ago, another moment that shows, unfortunately, this hateful, at times racist rhetoric seems to be permeating parts of young Republicans.
Yeah, Mike, John's right. It's extraordinary that it's noteworthy that this is happening, because so many times the position has been never apologize, never retreat, plow forward. As John points out, J.D. Vance, the vice president, talking about those young Republican texts and messages between each other saying, oh, they're just boys. We're not going to participate in cancel culture. Well, this is a rare case when it was a bridge too far.
You know, on this one, I mean, one of the keys I would have to think is the element of just the word Nazi. You know, once it's applied to someone, whether it's a candidate for public office or someone looking to be appointed to something, that's sort of a see you later.
Yeah, that's a hard one to come
Let's talk about this new piece in the Washington Post, an editorial titled Flickers of Independence from the Senate GOP. The Post writes in part, one of the differences between President Donald Trump's first and second terms is the meekness of Senate Republicans. The GOP caucus in 2025 has acquiesced to appointments of extreme or unqualified people to powerful executive branch roles who never would have passed muster in 2017. But it is good to know there's still a limit somewhere after Senate Majority Leader John Thune warned Monday night his conference would reject the nomination of Paul Ingrassia. Presidents deserve significant deference in filling most executive branch posts, but the Senate plays an important role in forcing certain boundaries. Thune's majority mostly abdicated that responsibility by approving figures such as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as Health and Human Services Secretary and Kash Patel as FBI Director. Republican and Democratic senators are too enthralled to presidents of their parties, and it's damaging the constitutional system. Any flickers of independence deserve at least faint praise. Dave Weigel, the bar is very low, but as the Washington Post points out, when there is a flicker of independence, it is noteworthy these days.
Yes, because it's not just the Republican Senate conference writ large that has changed. The members of the Senate have changed. Everyone elected in the last 6 years really has gotten elected as a MAGA Republican, and they don't like Ingrassia, but they have been approving other people who would not have been confirmed before. Emil Bove wouldn't have been confirmed in the first term for a lifetime judicial appointment. So it is pretty thin there, and the overall tone of how Republicans treat the administration is that the president has a mandate. Anything he does should be judged as legal and fine until something is outrageous and indefensible. So they're every day, and this is, I think, some crazy-making factor for Democrats. Every day there's something Trump is doing that would have gotten resistance in the first term, and just the way news works. If you don't have Republicans standing up in a mic somewhere and saying it's bad, then it becomes a Democratic issue, then it becomes one party has what they call Trump derangement syndrome because they're unhappy about the White House being remodeled without congressional buy-in or what have you.
Right. All right. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is cracking down on Pentagon staff, speaking to members of Congress. A new Pentagon memo signed by Secretary Hegseth and Deputy Secretary Steve Feinberg mandates that all Pentagon personnel obtain approval before communicating with lawmakers or congressional staffers. The only exception is the Inspector General's office. The memo states that unauthorized communications, quote, may undermine department-wide priorities critical to achieving our legislative objectives. The directive marks a significant shift from previous policy where Defense Department agencies could manage their own interactions with Capitol Hill. And John, this comes on the heels of the press, most of them walking out because they refused to sign that document.
Yeah, just last week, the Pentagon press corps that has been worked in that building for decades walked out en masse. There's only a very few exceptions of people who are willing to sign the Secretary of Defense's pledge. I believe OAN is there. Even Newsmax and Fox News, they said no.
Nope.
OAN said yes. A few, like there's a member of the Turkish state media that said okay.
Great.
I mean, just absurdity there. And it points to, first, two different things. The extraordinary insecurity by the Secretary of Defense, who was hit by bad headlines during his confirmation hearings, who had to weather the Signalgate scandal. He is someone who knows his job status is tenuous. He's not well liked in the White House, though President Trump likes him, but most of the West Wing does not care for him. And he is trying to prevent bad headlines from being generated that could endanger his job. That's part of this. But we should look beyond that. This is not, this is also, first of all, this deprives, Mike, the Pentagon of a chance to tell good news stories sometimes when they do that. But also, this is a moment that hurts the public, and we should never lose sight of that. This isn't members of the media complaining like, oh, you're making our jobs harder. It is, but those reporters will continue to do their jobs outside the building. But think about the number of important stories that American citizens have needed to learn because of the work that goes in the Pentagon. Hegseth's trying to stop that.
Well, two things. Don't you feel that now that they have done what they've done with the press corps throwing them out of the building, or the press corps leaving the building, that the leaks from command staff generals, from people who work in the Defense Department, the leaks to the media are going to increase 100-fold. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it that is really kind of interesting is how long can they get away with building this protective cone around the Secretary of Defense so that they keep him from the public, really?
He doesn't answer questions.
Nope.